Crunch has been released and the overall opinion on his role and if he fits into the meta is still being decided. Right now, he fills the same role as that of Sevarog, Rampage or Grux. But the problem is, those three are much easier to play in comparison. So, today, I put together 5 key tips to help you crunch up the competition and prove that crunch fits in the team. First up, with number 1, we have frame cancels. I'd say this is probably the most important thing for you to understand and make use of. I know the very phrase frame cancelling sounds scary or complicated, but trust me, it's actually super simple. Now, characters like Grux or Feng Mao and more have a frame cancel ability. To do it, you simply land a basic attack, and then, in the time between your next basic attack, you use an ability. For example, Murdoch can throw out a basic attack, and then a buckshot, and then a basic attack. There's this recovery time in between basic attacks that stops you from swinging your weapon constantly, right? You build attack speed to lower this recovery time. These are known as recovery frames, the moment where you've swung and then you're waiting before you can swing again. So frame cancelling is just using an ability in this period where you can't actually throw out a basic attack to simply ignore that recovery time. Grux's double pain, Feng Mao's hamstring, and as we said, Murdoch's buckshot are examples of abilities that can indeed frame cancel. So why are we talking about those in a crunch video? Because most heroes count themselves lucky to have just one frame cancel ability, but all 4 abilities that crunch uses can frame cancel. All of them. So it's super simple. Just basic attack and then use an ability. Then your basic attack, use an ability. Then your basic attack and then use an ability. Easy. By doing this, you're going to put out way more damage in a very quick way, so get crunching. If you'd like to learn more specifics and a more detailed explanation, then check out the Reddit post by the all-knowing Jshredz. It's linked in the description. Next up, we have the 1-2 crunch. Crunch's ultimate allows him to recast the last ability used. Left crunch, then re-crunch, and you'll use left crunch again. But this ultimate has a passive. The third ability used in your combos is actually an empowered version. You get extra cleave damage on your left crunch, you get a knock-up instead of a slow on your right crunch, and so on. So being able to make use of these empowered abilities is key to being a good crunch. You can actually tell when your next ability is going to be an empowered one. When Crunch's body is lit up and in like a overdrive mode, it glows all red basically. But this is hardly reliable. In a team fight or even like a fairly normal fight, you're actually busy fighting and not looking at your own character. I must admit, I'm somewhat disappointed in Epic that there's no UI feature to showcase this combo. Sevarog can see his stacks when he looks at his Q, it's like right above them. So why is it that Crunch can't see his combo number somewhere? It's a little silly and I hope that's added soon. But while that isn't in game, however, here's what I recommend. Count out your abilities as you're using them in a fight. 1 ability used, 2 ability used, and now you know this third ability you're about to use is the empowered ability. I know it's a basic strategy, but sometimes the basics are the best. You will actually have a knack for it with some practice and you won't need to do this forever, but until then, call out in your head, 1, 2, crunch. It actually works, believe me. The combos. There are actually 25 total combinations of combos possible in Crunch's kit. The idea behind a combo is to use your abilities in an order that will result in a specific ability being empowered when you use it. I'm going to cover what I consider the most important for you to actually know, so let's go. The most obvious, biggest damage dealer combo is kind of straightforward. So you hit them with a basic attack, then your forward crunch, basic attack there, right crunch, then another basic, left crunch, another basic, re-crunch, finish with a basic. This actually all happens in about 3 or 4 seconds. You're actually going to do huge damage here, but do note, using your forward crunch as part of the combo will leave you without that ability to escape or chase. So you have to consider, am I actually going to need my forward crunch, or will I not need it, so use it for damage? And maybe you actually need your slow, or maybe a knock-up, maybe you need more CC in the combo. In that case, needing the knock-up on a target or simply holding a target down for your team is left crunch, right crunch, and then re-crunch. This is going to do a bit of damage, then you're going to slow the target, then you're going to knock them up. It's okay damage, but importantly, it's holding the target in place. Ideally, you'd be using this combo to prevent someone from escaping or keeping someone off of your ally, like a carry, in the middle of a fight. Now you'll note that I didn't tell you there to use basics in between the abilities. Always do that for every combo, basic in between every ability. But for the sake of explaining it, we're not going to keep saying that, we're not going to mention it. A great escape or chase is to forward crunch followed by a re-crunch. You go flying forward, chasing an enemy or escaping from a bad situation. It's great. Or maybe you actually need that push to push someone into your friends. Hit them with a right crunch, re-crunch, then forward crunch. This is a great combo to hold someone in place because you're slowing them and you're holding them down. And then you position yourself while they're in the air and coming back down to then push them in the direction that you want to send them, which ideally would be into a tower or maybe your team. Now remember, your left crunch actually does the most damage out of your abilities. So if you only have so much mana or so much time that you're only able to get 2 abilities in, make it left crunch, then re-crunch as your combo. It's the most burst you can do in just 2 abilities. Now again, there are tons more combos, but those are the really important ones in my opinion. So if you've got any interesting ones that you think are good, then share them in the comments. I'm looking forward to seeing what combos you share. Next, the obvious thing is builds. In Crunch's case, builds can be useful like on any hero, but at the core of it, a good Crunch is the one that uses his abilities correctly. Generally, early game damage is good, and then late game tankiness with utility is ideal. Health, armor, and damage. Just like Rampage, for example. Here's some builds that are going to suit this. This build features Satori and Stone of Salvation. Now, you might find yourself against lots of physical fighters, and this build works like a charm. Stone of Salvation causes you to do 35% extra damage based on how much physical armor you have. And it lasts 6 seconds, which is more than enough time to get out a full combo, which can be very deadly. The next build features more mana and attack speed, with armor pen instead of Jshredz. This is the build for the Crunch player who knows his combos and finds himself spamming out abilities constantly. It's kind of ideal for a top quality Crunch, but maybe not the best for a beginner. Finally, I'd like to talk about one specific card that isn't in any of my decks because I don't have it, but God, I wish I did. Incessant Onslaught. Its attack speed and has a passive 10% more cooldown reduction on every auto attack. Combined with his ultimate passive that works the same, this means you can constantly throw out abilities all the time. Great with a mana filled build. It's God tier. God, I wish I had that card. And finally, jungle versus solo. Here's the big question. In my opinion, he doesn't fit in mid or red lane. He's a bruiser type, great for clearing jungle or winning solo lane. In this regard, he kind of fills the same role as Sevarog, Rampage, and Grux like we mentioned earlier. Between the two roles, played perfectly, let's say, it's a really hard say if he's better in solo or jungle. However, what I will say is if you're learning Crunch and don't know how to perform the perfect combo you need in every situation, it's maybe a good idea to put him in the solo lane. It's less pressure overall because you won't need to be there for ganks throughout the early game and partly mid game, giving you more time to freely farm and win your solo before you actually get into the thick of the game. But if you feel confident at landing the knock-up combo or the push the enemy into your team combo, you can be quite deadly in the jungle. With those combos, you have great ganking potential and some insanely fast camp clearing thanks to the cleave and ultimate. So try them out and see which you prefer, but I think solo is potentially the easier between the two. Alright, there you have it guys, those are my 5 main, most important tips for you new Crunch players. I wish you the best of luck and I'm looking forward to seeing what combos you have for me in the comments. I'm currently streaming like crazy, 5 days a week, tons of Paragon. So if you want to see full gameplay from me at the higher levels, we're talking Diamond, then you gotta join the streams. A link to my Twitch is in the description. Otherwise, thank you again so much for watching and listening. I hope I helped someone and I will see you next time.